Good morning. Welcome. Today is Saturday, June 6th. How's it going? How's everybody doing? My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we just practice vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In no way implying that those are the only things you need to know in order to get a job or be a modern front-end developer. But I am saying that I think you should not forget about those things, right? Those things are still important to know, and that's what we do here. We just practice, we hang out, we have a good time, we talk about front-end development, and that's that. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. So I will admit to you that I took about a week off. I needed a week because, well, first of all, I got very busy during the week with my contracting and freelancing and consulting. And so I cut back streaming to just 2 days a week. Originally, that's what I did, is I just streamed on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And then in January this year, I started doing 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And I'm just going back to a weekend schedule again. So this past week, I just sort of needed a week to go do some of my client work, focus on client work, get caught up on client work. And I did need a tiny little break from YouTube, actually. I can be honest. So both things can be true at the same time, I think. I want to say good morning to a couple of people in the chat. Malik Robinson is here. Malik Go Elmo is our mod in the chat. He keeps an eye on you and he keeps an eye on me. He keeps an eye on all of us. Trust me when I tell you, he is very much appreciated. Good morning, Malik. And Hard Choice is also here. Says hello, welcome. So here's the situation. Let me get this pulled up here. The last couple of weeks we've been working on this. I don't have anything ready to go. Nah, it is what it is. But let me get this pulled up here. Something that I was calling UI snacks. I'll share my screen. Also, one moment. Give me a moment. My Costco Claritin is not kicked in yet today. I have a runny nose. So the last couple of weeks, we've been working on this thing that I called UI snacks. And it's this dashboard mock-up UI that I found on Theme Forest because we do that a lot here. I have this collection of mock-ups that I call like low-res mock-ups. Left over from my freelancing days when I first started as a developer. And that's really what we mostly do here on this channel is we just build those out. We practice our vanilla skills. We practice layout. I'm a very UI accessibility focused front-end developer, but recently in the last couple of months, we've been doing more and more JavaScript. I'm trying to get, just like strengthen my skills at JavaScript. Anyhow, I found this mock-up on Theme Forest, and I really like it. And we started building it out, and I'm struggling with the responsive styles. Now, full disclosure, I have not looked at this or touched this since the last time I streamed. And I did kind of in the back of my mind say, I think I'm going to get this responsive mess figured out before the next stream. And of course, I didn't because I had other things going on. So I was thinking about it last night, and I think that because I really do want to continue working on this once I get the responsive styles nailed down and we have like a little system, this will be a great container starter project layout. I don't even know what to call it, base for the things that I have planned, the little like data transformation, UI dashboardy type stuff that I want to do for the rest of 2026. This will be an excellent place to do that. I just honestly do not want to work on this anymore during the live streams because the last couple of streams were so effing painful for me. I don't know how they were for you. For me, they were painful. I did not enjoy it because I was struggling so much with the responsiveness. So I've decided that I'm going to finish building this layout, this structure, this base offline. And when I get it all nailed down, we're going to come back to it and we're going to start building out those little UI elements and doing the data transformation and JavaScript that I enjoy so much. So we're going to put this away for now. And what I've decided that we're going to start working on today, and I literally just decided this like yesterday, is we're going to start working on a portfolio layout for practicelayouts.com. So if you've spent any time here at all, I really love to just build these little UIs. And then when we're done, whoops, I opened that one twice. And then when we're done, we do a deployment day and we set up a virtual host. I have a LAMP stack set up on DigitalOcean. We added virtual host and a subdomain. We update our DNS settings. We install an SSL certificate. And I really love this. I love that we do this. And we've built out a lot of fun things so far this year. But clearly, practicelayouts.com, it needs something. It needs a home, right? I mean, it has a home, but it's like camping in the winter in the middle of a field. It needs a home. We need to give it a home, right? So I had an idea. Let me pull up my PSDs. I had an idea for what we could work on here. There we go. What was I thinking about? I was thinking about... I don't think it was that one. I don't think it was this one. No. I think it was this one. Yeah. So here, I think that we should do something like this. It will look blog-ish. Whoops, wrong thing. It will look blog-ish. That's okay. I kind of like this one. I guess I mostly like this one. This is like a standard blog post. Here's like a inner post video about. So we wouldn't do drop down menus, but I think this is, you know, a good look at what the header would look like, right? I mean, we've kind of already done this. We've used this before in the past for a flyout menu, but we've never specifically. So we could do this, or we could do this. So and then my thought was, so let's open these up in preview and take a closer look at them. I'll open up these two. Preview, why are you so difficult? It's like you close something and then the next time you open preview, it opens it. Close selected image. Okay. So I kind of like this. Yeah. So it's going to be it's blog adjacent. My thinking is that we'll make a local JSON file. That will be like our faux API. And then every time we deploy a new project, we just add that project to the JSON and boom, our website's updated because dynamic, baby, right? And then our top level navigation could be like, where's my mouse? Here's our mouse. The top level navigation could just be, you know, like pointing to my YouTube channel, pointing to my personal website, things like that. And then that maybe these top 3 items would be the 3 most recent things that we deployed. And then this listing, instead of a blog, just becomes like a portfolio for the things that we build, because that list is getting longer and longer and longer. And we've deployed way more than these 5 things. Well, we've finished more than these 5 things. We haven't deployed everything. So I think we should build out our practice layout site. And that's just a good old building out a UI with a JSON file. We could do some fun sidebar stuff. I mean, I'm just being honest here, things that I am super comfortable with and that I enjoy doing, because I have tried really hard to challenge myself more and more in these live streams, and it is stressing me out. And it makes me not want to stream. And what is the point of that? Why am I doing that to myself? Nobody asked me to do that. I think it's important to challenge ourselves and to learn new things, and to, like, you have to challenge yourself. But why do I have to do that in a live stream? Nobody asked me to do that. Why am I doing that to myself? So I want to do things that are fun and that I'm good at and that I'm comfortable with, because why not? I do tons of work outside of streaming and outside of YouTube. I have clients, I have freelancing. Oh, excuse me, I'm hiccuping. There's just no reason to stress myself out. And I am still making practice videos. So there's lots of ways to make content, and there's lots of ways to practice. Why do I have to stress myself out every time I'm streaming? It's more fun for me, and I hope it's more fun for you to see somebody who isn't stressed out and upset and yelling at this code all the time, because that's how I feel lately. So there's that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, is we're going to build the practice layouts. And I think it's time, because how long have we been doing this for? Almost 6 months now. So we definitely need to give this little guy a home. So we have this. And you know what else I would like to do? I would genuinely like to set up an Express server and use the Instagram API. I really would. I've been talking about that for like 2 years. Right? Why not? Okay, so where's the other one? Let's look at the other one. I'm kind of leaning towards this one. And then there's this one. Which is almost exactly the same. So what would we need here if we're going to build a JSON file, if we're going to build our own JSON? Come on. Zooming there. What would we need here? We would need a category. I don't know what the categories would be. We have a title. This could be our deployment date, right? They're all by me, but I guess I could just say by Angela. I think that would be okay. A little description. There wouldn't necessarily be comments, because it's not a real blog, so I don't think I would have that. But this could be fun. How do you do that? How do you do likes? Where does that get stored? I mean, it's not connected to a database. So I don't know how I would store, I don't know how I would store likes if I didn't actually have a back end. I don't know how I would do that. Maybe we could have like social sharing buttons instead. What if we did that? We could definitely do that. Yeah, let's do a row of social sharing buttons for each thing. Yeah, I like that. So we basically have a couple of layout options here. We could do this, or we could do this. Honestly, now I'm leaning towards this. I don't know, what would I put in the middle though? I don't know what I would put in the middle here, or if I would even do this middle post. I don't know. Maybe the middle post could just be something completely different. Maybe this could be like a featured video for something that gets people pointed back to my channel, or a deployment video, or I don't know, a project video. So what is this? So it would be 3, 3, and then in the middle we put like a video, maybe like a click to load video. And then we have a load more button for when we have more than 6 things in our portfolio. And then we build a nice little sidebar. So what would be in our sidebar? I could do like an about me, point people back to my website, my socials. We could do, if we're going to do Instagram down at the bottom, I don't think I would do it twice. I have since scrapped anything that has to do with like a newsletter sign up. I've taken that off of all of my sites. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not writing a newsletter. I'm just getting tons of spam, so I'm kind of like done with that. I don't really run ads. I am on X, but I really don't post. We can find other stuff, right? We can find other stuff to go into a sidebar. There's inspiration everywhere for sidebar stuff. So, and Malik Gogo Elmo says about me is a good idea. Yeah, this could be like a little portfolio, right? Of everything that we're building and deploying. It's like another, just a nice, cool side project, but I am kind of liking this. I don't think these images, the images wouldn't be square. I mean, maybe they would. Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. But let's build this. Yeah. And then I think the header would just be the 3 most recent things. So technically this has like 9 things on it. Which means we need to shake a leg at getting things deployed. Maybe we should have a deployment weekend. Ooh, we could get like everything deployed in a weekend if we did that. Yeah. And then what would be in our navigation? So this is basically going to be a 1-page website. And then these would just automatically link off to the thing that got deployed, right? So it would be a 1-page website. I don't think we need a home button because it's only 1 page, but I could definitely have a link to my personal website, my YouTube channel, my GitHub, my LinkedIn, and my Instagram, I guess. We could build a contact page because we know we're really good at dealing with forms and form validation. So maybe we could build a contact page. I mean, maybe we could build a contact page and about me page. Those pages exist in the mockup. That wouldn't be such a big deal, would it? I mean, once we build the home page, we've got the structure for inner pages. Okay, well, let's just get started building this, shall we? So if you're wondering, all 4 of you watching right now, how I start projects, this is it. Projects start with a design. They do for me. I don't know how other people do it. This is always how I've worked. I have never been able to do anything that I didn't at least have a design for, and that I didn't have loose requirements for. You have to have some kind of requirements in order to start building anything. Otherwise, I don't know. What are you building? I don't get it. Explain it to me. There we go. So this is what we're going to do. So this will be our practice layouts project. So let's just grab, we do have an about page here, and we do have a contact page, and we do have drop down menu and side menu. So let's just copy some of these. I'm going to duplicate. And then here's our projects. We'll do practice layouts. Let's see. Oh, come on. Boom, just like that. Okay, so I can't, as part of the license from Theme Forest, which is where I got all of these things from, I cannot share the Photoshop mockups, the PSDs. But what I can do is I can turn these into like PDFs or PNGs, and I can share the flattened version. So I will make sure that I do that. I'll try to do it before tomorrow. So here's our new project. Let's get this set up and start a Git repository. Okay. And then let's do this. We'll just say PSD. I'm going to take these. Okay. Okay. Let's add a git ignore. And what are we going to do? Dot ds store. Oh, it doesn't need to be wildcard, I don't think. And then we'll do PSD. We want to ignore those. What else would we have here? We need an index.html. We need a style.css. We need an, we'll call script.js. What else do we need? See, this is why I like to do vanilla. If you're like, what's wrong with her? Why is she doing this? This is why. You can build a website. You can build a portfolio. You can even make it dynamic. You can have JSON. You can do all of those things. And you don't need a compiler. You don't need Node. You don't need a package manager. You don't need a framework. You don't need a library. Technically, you don't need those things. I'm not here saying that this is the only way to do it or it's the most efficient way to do it. But if you really want to understand how the internet works, if you want to understand how browsers work, try building a couple vanilla projects. It completely changed my life when I decided to start doing it. It made me a better developer, especially when it comes to CSS. It helped me really understand user agent style sheets, cascade, inheritance, specificity. My CSS got a lot better when I started doing vanilla. I just highly, highly recommend it. So there's that. Just try it, see how it goes. Okay, what else do we need? I think this is a good start. We could do, we'll just say data.json. That'll be our data. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to say git init, git add, git commit, initial commit, and then let's go to GitHub. Practice layouts. And we just need these three things. And there it is. There is our repository. And then let's make sure that we have a GitHub page set up for this using our main branch. And then this will be our URL, but we don't have anything yet to look at, do we? Okay. So let's close that. So today is going to be an HTML day. Yeah. Okay. One moment, please. And here's why I love things like this. If you didn't already know, it's just this type of thing I think is super fun to practice. So if you need things for your portfolio, your GitHub, you need repositories, just grab some mockups and practice building user interfaces. Buy a domain name, learn how to do basic deployment to a LAMP stack where you set up a little Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP server, the perfect basic server for any static website. It even gives you the flexibility to have a backend, use a little PHP for templating or querying the database if you're into that type of thing. If you need a portfolio because you don't have clients, you've never had a job, this is how you do it. If you want to put in your practice projects from tutorials that you've watched, if you want to put in practice projects from Front-End Mentor or whatever you got going on, do it. This is exactly where these things belong. And listen, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this for about 13 years now. I don't have anything in my portfolio I don't have anything in my portfolio that is client work or any of my past employment. Nothing. I keep those things private. I keep my clients private. I talk about the only job that I talk about is when I was a developer at the University of St. Thomas, because I worked there for such a long time, 7 years. I talk about them all the time. They're cool with the fact that I talk about them. I don't work there anymore. It's been over a year. But I don't put any of the work that I actually did for them in my portfolio because I don't work there anymore and it's client work and it's proprietary. It belongs to them. It doesn't belong to me. Sure, I mean, I guess I could show people the things that I did, but my point is this. If you need things for a portfolio, you should be practicing. If you're a front-end developer, you should be grabbing mockups, whether you buy them or find them for free or you're just cloning other websites. That's the stuff you should be doing. Because if you're a front-end developer trying to convince somebody that you can do this work, but you don't have a portfolio, you can't show them you can do the work, I don't know how you're going to get a job if you don't have a portfolio. And if you don't know what to put in a portfolio, this is it. This is what you put in a portfolio. So I'm just here to say that you don't have to put your client work in a portfolio. You don't have to put the work that you do for an employer in a portfolio. I'm at the point now where I prefer not to, because I don't want those to be the only things that people see me doing. I want people to see me doing side projects and things outside of work. Not everybody has the same philosophy, but that's my philosophy. So, okay. Oh, it's real quiet today. It's a quiet crowd. That's okay. It's summertime. It's a little slower. I totally get it. But sometimes the chat is just like hopping, and sometimes it's just chill. And it's okay. I'm fine with it. But it's also, I notice. So, also, I haven't been around in about a week. So, it's different when I'm here more often. So, okay. So, we're just going to write a little HTML today. So, this is going to be practice layouts. Do a header, class of header. We're going to do main with the class of main, and we'll do footer with the class of footer. Whoops. Oh, stop. Oh, for God's sakes. There we go. Okay. Header first. So this is going to be our header. This is obviously for mobile, so it doesn't need to show up on desktop. We'll go ahead and grab icons. We'll grab SVGs for social media and for navigation. And then at the bottom of the header, we'll have a nav element. So we'll have a nav with a class of navigation. I think that our title is going to be practice layout, so that's going to be our H1. I don't think I'm going to have the menu button be over on the far left. I think it's going to be over here on the far right, because I want it to come immediately before the navigation. That is going to make things really smooth for accessibility and for keyboard navigation. We could do a search. Maybe we'll put a search icon here, and I don't know if version 1 will have a search, but we could do a search. Since we're going to have data, we might as well do a search with like an input, right? So why don't we put a search over here instead? Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. And then on mobile, our nav menu, our menu button will be here. And then we can either open the menu from the left or the right. I honestly don't have a preference. We'll just do whatever feels good when we get there. So, okay, so let's do, I want the H1 to come first. I don't want the search to come first. So I think what I'll do is I'll put the H1 first, I'll put the search second, and then we'll put the social media icons third, but we'll use Flexbox to change the order of the H1 and the search, because when people land on the page, I want them to get the H1 first. So that's the plan. So, and I'm just going to do, I don't think it needs a container, so I'm just going to do H1 primary logo, and this is going to be practice layouts. And then we'll do a form with a class of search. Whoops. Search form. And then what do we need in our search form? Well, should we go grab our SVGs? Yeah, let's do that. SVG. Here's our SVG folder. Go to Ionicons. Okay. So we need search. need menu. We need close. And then we'll grab some social media. So we'll do YouTube. We'll do GitHub. We'll do LinkedIn, even though I despise LinkedIn, but we'll do it. I don't know how you live without it these days. Doesn't mean I have to like it. What else? Instagram. What else? Facebook, Pinterest. Nah. Close, outline. So we've got GitHub, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Menu open, menu close, search. Yeah, that works. And you know what I think? I think now is a good time to remind people, hey, do me a favor. Like the video if you haven't yet. I would appreciate it so much. It helps the algorithm, helps get this type of content pushed out to more people who might enjoy this type of thing, helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you're new here. I'm here every Saturday and Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We just practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's just a way to keep our skills fresh. This is a very UI-focused, accessibility-focused channel where I just want people to remember vanilla because I think it will really serve you well in your career. You know, I know that front-end development right now is very framework, library focused, and I understand why. It's very AI, agentic AI focused. I understand that too. We love AI. We have nothing against AI. I'm going to be incorporating more of that into my content as well. I just want people to remember that vanilla is important. This is how the internet actually works. This is what browsers actually read. And I think it will serve you well to have a good foundational knowledge when it comes to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I just want to remind people that this is important too, and it's a good thing to remember to know how to do. So if you're into that type of thing, like, subscribe, come hang out with me. This is a super chill place to be on the weekends where we just practice, and yeah, that's it. That's my sales pitch. That's all I got for you. And you know, it's been a while since I've reminded people about this as well. I'm on Instagram. I don't post a ton on Instagram, but I'm a doom scroller like everyone else. If you want to get in touch with me, DMs are a good way to do that. I'm getting better at checking like those hidden messages. A lot of DMs go into like this little hidden message black hole, but I'm getting better about checking it. I try to respond to people. Yeah, I don't know. I like hanging out over on Instagram, and it's just a good place to message me if you happen to be there and you have questions about front-end development or anything we do on the channel. So there's that. Okay. So we're going to need a label. And I've been in the past, I've hidden all my labels when it comes to forms. And I'm not really doing that anymore. Yeah, I'm not really doing that anymore. I'm kind of changing my mind about that. So labels were really meant to sort of wrap the thing that they labeled. So we're going to do that instead. So input type search. We'll do a name search, and let's give this a class of search. And I guess we need an ID. I mean, if we're wrapping it, I don't know why we need a for or an ID, but I guess we'll go for it. Search input, there we go. And then our label is just going to be search, just like that. You know, we might want to put this on a span for styling. We'll do that. Yeah. And then we need a button, which we'll do type submit. Any button inside a form element will automatically submit unless you put a type button, but it's still a good best practice to put type submit, in my opinion. And we'll just give this a class of button. And then, well, it also needs an ARIA label, search, and then we'll add our SVG. Come on. Then our SVG needs to be ARIA hidden true. Now, I do something that maybe not everybody does. For the stroke current color, I take current color out. Here's what current color does. It inherits whatever the color attribute is. I take that out because I want full control over the stroke or the fill of my SVGs. So I don't remove the attribute, but I take out the value. I've had it pointed out to me that most developers want current color. I do not. So that's just how I do it. Yeah, so there's that. I think this is it for our form. So again, I have the H1 coming first because when that screen reader, oh, and we should also, if we're gonna have inner pages, let's also make sure that this is got a link. So this would probably link to our, yeah. So when the screen reader hits the page, I want it to get the H1, which is the site title, first. On inner pages, we're going to change this H1 to a div, and the H1 will be the title of the page. But for the home page, the H1 and the primary logo, they are the H1. So when we style this, we're going to change the order because I'm going to use Flexbox on the header. And I'm going to change the order of the H1 and the form, and we're going to flip those. So the H1 is visually in the middle, which means that the middle would get the focus, then the form, and then it would jump to the end. I mean, I'm fine with that. I think then that I would want this navigation to not be inside the header. I think it would be better if it was just outside the header. And then we also want to make sure that we have a skip nav. And skip nav literally needs to come before the navigation, and it needs to skip the navigation. That's it. So we're going to say skip nav. This is going to be a link. And we're just going to say content. So we'll say skip navigation. And we'll style this in a way so you only see it when it's focused. And then it would literally just skip the navigation and it would come right down here. So we'll give this an ID of content. We're probably going to end up putting this in a div. I have a feeling we would end up putting this in a div. So let's just do it now. So we can control the positioning on that. And then our navigation would be a UL with a class of main nav. And then we would have list items with anchor elements here. Yeah. Okay, so let's come back up here and finish our header. That's a little too big for me. Okay, So I think, where's our mockup? So in my opinion, social media links are also navigation. So I am going to put this in a nav element. So we'll say nav with a class of social navigation, and then this will be an unordered list with a class of social nav, and then this would be a list item with an anchor element, and then in our spans we'll put our things. And Fernando Gomez is here and says, Angela, your channel has been an inspiration for me. Thank you a lot for sharing your talent. Well, thank you, Fernando, for letting me know that. I really appreciate it. And thanks for coming to hang out with us. The whole point is to just practice, right? This is what really helped me when I was learning to be a front-end developer, because I'm completely self-taught. I mean, I've done the occasional course and watched tutorials over the years, but I started learning how to do this back in 2009, really 2010. I started learning in 2009. I built my first website in 2010. I made a website for my mom, who was self-employed at the time, and there was lynda.com, which was way over my head. I ended up taking because I was really struggling. I ended up taking an adult community education class at North Hennepin Community College in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, because I lived in Brooklyn Park at the time. I had a cute little townhouse with me and my little dogs, Risky and Ryan. They were my first two Shelties. Anyways, I was really struggling as a self-taught developer. It was just so hard. The resources back then did not exist like they do now. So I took this class, and it was all table-based layouts. We used Adobe Dreamweaver, but I'm telling you, after the first two classes, it was 4 classes over 2 weeks. I made my first website. I deployed it. I bought a domain name. I was like off to the races. That was all I needed. Is I just needed a little guidance. I needed one other person to just show me how to like get started and how to do things. And then once I was like really getting into WordPress, and I was like a couple years in, I was doing really well actually on my own for being self-taught. But Chris Coyer and CSS Tricks and the videos that he used to record, he had the back end to his website, CSS Tricks, called The Lodge, for like $10 a month. And he did this big redesign and a Kickstarter campaign where he redesigned CSS Tricks, and he recorded the entire process. It was hundreds of videos that he made, and I watched every single one. And I can't even describe how powerful it was to watch another developer, just hear their thought process and to just watch them work. And I've never forgotten that. And I'm telling you now, in the 13 plus years that I've been doing this, I've had a constant running dialogue in my mind as I work. So starting a YouTube channel and just saying what I was thinking, it was totally natural. So for anybody to come into the comments or the chat and to tell me that it helps them, it means a lot. That's why I do it. Because I want other people. I think that you can only take so many courses and tutorials. You have to get out there and practice. You have to get out there and build stuff. But when you can get a sense for how other people are thinking through problem solving, I feel like that's when things just start to click for people, especially new developers, or if you're new to a particular part of development, right? Maybe you've been doing back end or whatever. Maybe you're full stack, but now you're learning more front end. It just helps to hear how other people are thinking about things. So, all right. Well, thank you for that. Welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, right? Okay. So let's do GitHub first. And these spans are going to be hidden with a class called access hidden. So these will be hidden with CSS friendly, screen reader friendly CSS. And let's get our SVGs in here. And then let's just fill in. Let's just fill in our stuff. And I'm going to have these open in a new window. Oop. I know what just happened. So I think next we want Instagram. And we want this to be ARIA hidden true, so screen readers aren't trying to read this. And then let's grab, I'm going to do this one privately, because sometimes I'm like, what's Instagram going to show that I wouldn't necessarily want people to see? I don't know. Oh, I guess it's not so bad. All right, there's Instagram. LinkedIn. LinkedIn, the corporate ghetto. What did I hear it referred to as once? I thought was so funny. Corporate virtue signaling ghetto. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Corporate virtue signaling ghetto. Nothing wrong with corporate. I got nothing against corporate. It's the virtue signaling that I get a little tired of. So, okay. The inauthentic corporate. I guess they go hand in hand, don't they? Sometimes. Okay. Where's our YouTube? Okay. I think we got what we need here. What else? So I'm looking for that attribute for stroke or fill. I don't see any. And Omar says, I really like what you do and your consistency. I hope you make more mainstream friendly content to get more traction, but never mind, whatever makes you comfortable, keep going. That's an adorable comment. This is a very nice comment. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've learned that the things that you have to do to get more traction on YouTube I don't mind making that content. And here's the thing, I want my channel to grow. I want more people to watch my content. But can I just be perfectly honest with you that I I don't have I don't have the stomach for the comments sometimes. Uh and this is not a new thing. We all know that social media and the comment section and YouTube can be wild sometimes, right? Um, but you can have like 99.9% positive comments, and that one comment that is not as nice can just like be really devastating because it's tough, especially on an educational channel that's like super technical, super niche, to have other developers come into my chat and just rip me apart. Um, and it's like they saw a title, a thumbnail, watched part of one video, and they told themselves an entire story about who I was, and then they left it in the comments. It's like, whoa, it's rough sometimes. It's hard. I don't have the stomach for it. So, I've been thinking a lot the last couple of weeks about like what is really my goal on YouTube? What is my goal for my career? How do I really want to earn a living? What are the things that I want to focus on? And I love YouTube. I love being on YouTube. I will never stop being on YouTube, but I'm also like kind of okay flying under the radar. I don't think my goal is growing the channel or being like some sort of dev influencer, and it kind of was for a little while. Um, yeah. And you know what? This is like a normal, totally normal part of life too, where you try new things and you reevaluate. You spend a year doing something and then you're like, well, is this working? How's this going? Is this what I want to do? Is this turning out the way I thought it would? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Yeah, so I really appreciate comments like that because it's obviously very flattering when people come into the chat and they're like, I hope that you get all the success that you want. That's how I interpret that channel or that comment. But I've learned that even just the tiniest bit of attention, not even anything viral, literally just the tiniest bit of attention can attract some really ugly comments. And that can be rough. So, yeah. Thank you for that though. And I appreciate that I have a place to sort of like work out all my feelings about that. One moment, please. And Omar says, totally understand, but I guess the trade-off is worth it. Yeah, I mean, for some people it is, right? For me, I'm coming to the conclusion that the trade-off for me is not worth it. The only thing that I really have to here's the thing about make if I had evidence that I could really make money on this platform, the trade-off would be worth it. I want to get this right out into the open. If I had evidence that money could really be made on this platform, then yes, the trade-off would absolutely be worth it because I am here to earn a living. I haven't worked this hard. I have worked this hard because I truly love what I do, but I also am here to earn a living. And developers earn good livings, especially talented ones who really understand good problem solving, right? The problem is that it's actually kind of hard. You have to have like tens of thousands of views, maybe even hundreds of thousands of views. You have to have a massive audience to really earn a living on this platform. I think what I do is just way too niche. And I tried making more mainstream content. The comments just ripped me up. I hate vlogging. Nothing's more mainstream than vlogging, but also YouTube is saturated with vlogging, and I don't enjoy it. So I've just made the decision to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to attract my nice little audience that doesn't leave me mean comments. And there's plenty of ways to earn money in this world. I'm here to tell you, social media and YouTube is one way to do it. Eventually, I will probably start to earn a little something. I am monetized, but there's lots of ways to earn money. And right now, I have plenty of freelancing and consulting business, so I'm good. I have other things cooking outside of YouTube that I'm very, very happy with. So you just got to find your balance, right? So I love those questions. I like talking about it. It's fun to talk about because I think a lot of people are super curious about how people are earning money, if they're earning money, the kinds of things that kind of go on behind the scenes. I would, and I know I'm not the only one that has a tough time with comments. It's tough to really spend your career caring deeply about something, and then you make one or two videos that get a little traction, and the comments can just be pretty ugly. So Omar says YouTube ads is definitely not enough to make a living, but if you build a big audience, there are a lot of other ways to make money. Since you are an awesome developer, why not make a course, for instance? That is such a good, it is such a good question. So when I first started YouTube, I was like, absolutely not. When I first started YouTube, I was naive about the amount of money that you could make with AdSense. I thought you could make more than you actually can. So I'll start out by saying that. And when I and my initial thought was get on YouTube, show vanilla, show practice, build an audience, and I know I could earn a nice living on AdSense. I just really felt like that was possible. And I was very anti-course, anti-tutorial, not because I think those things are bad, but because I saw a lot of channels that, in my opinion, were just funnels for courses. And I just didn't think that they were adding a ton of value, right? I think, and I'm not talking, I want to be very clear, I'm not talking about Traversy or Kyle Cook because they are so good at what they do. They are so talented and they are demonstrating constantly that they can actually do the work, and they add so much value to YouTube. And those are just two that I can think of off the top of my head. Brad Traversy, Kyle Cook, and I'll throw in Dave Gray, who I think is also really awesome. They all also make courses. But there are other big channels. There's sort of this bigger dev community outside of those three, just as an example, they built huge audiences, and now everything they do is just a funnel for a course. So I mean, I've learned more since then, but I've just been really anti-course because of that. But I will admit, I am starting to think more like, well, what if I did buy a course? What if I had an audience that was like really willing to like pay money to do something? What would that course even be? And just because I make courses doesn't mean my channel has to be a funnel for courses, right? I could still show up on the weekends, build vanilla, make practice videos. So I am definitely thinking about it. I am definitely thinking about making a course. I'm just not sure what it would be. I also am coming to the realization that just because I hope it's okay that I'm talking about this, that's my channel, I can talk about what I want. Since you asked, I'm also coming to the realization that just because somebody shows up and watches a few live streams doesn't mean that they wouldn't still buy a course with the same information, because how people consume content is different. And my builds can spread over weeks, right? Especially if I'm just streaming on the weekends, which I've gone back to now. So it could take 6 weeks to finish a project, even if it's just a landing page with a couple inner pages, right? Maybe not everybody wants to show up every Saturday and Sunday for 6 weeks. Maybe they just want to buy a tightly edited course with the same stuff. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. So maybe I should make a course that's just learn vanilla. Just learn vanilla. I mean, it's already what I'm doing practically every day anyways, right? So I am thinking more and more about it. But thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. It helps to have people in the chat. giving me feedback and telling me what they'd like to see. So we'll see. We'll see. If it is something, I just want to make sure of two things. I want to make sure, number one, that the course adds real value. And number two, that I continue to freely share information on YouTube. Those two things still need to be true. I can't just do one or the other. So, because I think that the YouTube channel is my most powerful marketing tool. And when I would not be here today if it wasn't for all of the people who are freely sharing their ideas and talking about how they do things. So I just think that's really important. So, okay, back to it. So here's our header. Here's our search form. Here is our social navigation. So I feel like our header's done. We have our skip nav. Let's go ahead and put in, we'll put in some nav items. So what do we want our nav items to be? There's 6 things here. We could definitely do an about page, a contact page. So let's do about Angela. We could do contact. Should we just do, let's do me. I don't like third person. I don't like third person. About me, contact me. And then we could do portfolio. Well, it's not, it's my website. We could do portfolio. And then this would be a link out to my website. So let's add another SVG there, showing people that that's an outside link. We're just going to grab it from my website. I have it right here. This is like the universal signal for external. What is it called? I got it from Ionicon, apparently. This, what is it? Open outline. Okay. And then we'll say aria hidden true. This does have a stroke, current color. Take that out. So this will be next to anything that links off the site. So portfolio, and then I guess we could do another, even though we have social icons, we could do GitHub, we could do YouTube, and I guess we could do, let's just do 5. If we think of anything else, we can do it. So we'll make sure that this SVG is next to all of these since they would link out. And then let's make sure that these are inside of a span. That's going to help with styling. Okay. That works for navigation. All right, header is done. Yeah. Oops. Oh, you know what we don't have in here? We don't have in our open and close menu buttons. So let's get that stuff in. Here's our social navigation. So I want the button for our navigation to come immediately after the social navigation. So that'll line those up really well. And yes, I do always put type button on my buttons, even though they're not inside forms. I still just it's my practice. And we'll give that a class of button. So we'll do we would probably want to give these, we would probably want to give all of these like a class of button icon. Yeah. And then an ARIA label for accessibility. This will be open menu. This is our menu outline. And we need ARIA hidden true. And again, I'm going to take out this current color value, not the entire attribute, just the value. And then I will have control over the fill or the stroke. That is how I like to do it. So, okay, what else do we need here? So we're going to need an ARIA expanded. Whoops. ARIA expanded, and it's going to be false. On page load, the navigation is not going to be expanded. And then we need ARIA controls main nav, which means we have to give this an ID of main, whoops, main nav. So now the screen reader knows that this button controls this element with ARIA controls. So how I like to do navigation is I let CSS do all the work. The JavaScript is a click event. So when we click this button, we are adding an active class to the body. And then we use that body active class to style the menu, style the transitions, all of that. And then we also change ARIA expanded from false to true if it's open, back to false if it's closed. And that's it. It's very simple. We also add a little bit of JavaScript to make sure that if the menu is open, you can hit the escape key. That will also remove the body class and change ARIA expanded from true back to false. So we'll do that once we get to the styling. But we do the styling first. We do all of the heavy lifting with styling, all of it. To me, it is the best way to handle navigation, mobile navigation, any navigation, really, and to keep it accessible. So, and then with this, we have, makes me wonder if we want to put the skip nav. So the button is going to be display none for desktop, and that's exactly what we want. We don't want a screen reader to see this button on desktop, right? Because the navigation is already fully exposed. On mobile, the navigation will be visibility hidden. Again, that hides it from a screen reader. But on mobile, the screen reader is going to see this button. The ARIA label is going to read out what the button does. And the user will decide if they want to interact with the button. If they interact with the button, they open the navigation, they go into the navigation. If they close the button, or if they choose not to interact with the button, they will automatically skip the navigation and go to the next thing, which makes me think that we don't need a skip nav for mobile. That's what that makes me think. So we'll confirm this, but I don't think we need a skip nav on mobile. And I have not been in the habit of doing a skip nav on my builds until very recently. So it's good. It's in our best interest to get that sorted out now, right? But this is going to cover all of our bases for mobile. Now we need a close button. So I'm going to put this inside the navigation container. Oh, we need a button, Angela. Button with a class of button icon. I am going to say type is button. And ARIA label is close menu. And then here's our SVG. This is ARIA hidden true. And I'm going to take out the current color, not the attribute. This does not need ARIA expanded because it's inside the container that will either be expanded, true or false. It also doesn't need ARIA controls because, again, it's inside the container. So it doesn't need either of those things. So there's that. Okay. We'll close these up and we'll get started on our hero. Okay. All right. Right here. So let's look at our mockup. So our hero is going to be the 3 most recent posts. I'm not sure about these categories. We can include them in the markup. I'm just not sure that, I mean, I'm thinking, like, how would I categorize the builds? I'm not really sure. We might need a chevron. We might have to go grab some more SVGs. Yeah, that's a good idea. What else do we need here? Well, we need a chevron. Do we need anything else other than a chevron? No, I don't think so. Okay, let's go grab one more SVG. Okay. So this is going to be a div, and we'll just call it the hero. It's going to be a div, not a section, because in order to use a section, you have to have a heading, and we don't have a heading in here. These 3 things will be articles. So it'll be a div with 3 articles, and then these will be H2s. So adventure begins, Paris weekends, family lifestyle, those will be H2s. So we'll do a div with a class of hero, and then we'll say article, the class of, we'll call it a hero item. And then we've got an image, so it'll be a figure with a class of figure. And then we'll have images. And we don't have an image folder yet. So we'll just say images. And then should we grab some images? Yeah, let's do that quick. Hang on, I'll do it. Okay. So here's a couple of images. We're on the home page, so images. And I'm just going to say, we're going to have alt text inside of our JSON once we get there. So for now, I'm just going to say placeholder alt text. Yeah. And then this, I'm thinking, this little container is going to be absolutely positioned to the bottom. So we've got an H2. I'm kind of thinking that instead of a category, we have a date. I think I would like those to have a date instead. And then this button would link to each respective site. Let's do that instead. Because I'm kind of just at a loss right now for how I would categorize these things. I think I just need more time to think about it, and I'll come up with a plan. I think taxonomy is good. Yeah, I just need time to think about what the plan is. So, since it's going to be absolutely positioned, I'm going to put it first. So let's do a div with the class of meta. Or I think we can put a header in here, right? Can't we do a header with the class of meta? I think we can use a header tag. So let's do time, date time. So what's today's date? 2026, 06, 06. So this would be June 6, 2026. And then we have an H2 with a class of secondary heading. Adventure begins. And then I think we need a button, right? Button. Type button. Class, we'll call this the hero button because I think it's going to be styled a little bit different. And then aria label. The aria label is going to be what? I don't want it to be generic. It shouldn't just be like generic or learn more or read more or see more. We actually have to tell people what they're going to get when they click that button, right? So this button is going to be partially dynamic once we build this out. So if the name of our site is Adventure Begins, C, or how about open Adventure Begins. So now people know what they're getting when they click that button. Here's our chevron. Again, we want this to be aria, hidden true. And I'm going to remove the current color stroke. That's just my best practice. I know I keep saying that, but I was recently pointed out to me that actually developers like that, and I understand why they like that. You'll see once we get to the CSS why I prefer to remove it. And you can decide for yourself how you deal with it, right? Okay. So we've got our time, our H2, our button, our figure, our image. So these are going to be the hero items. Oops. Wait, how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then let's update this. And then we've got Paris Weekends Family Lifestyle. And yes, this is eventually going to be dynamic. My preference is to figure out what all of this markup is supposed to be, get the styles in place, and then we'll write some JavaScript. I also have to make our JSON file, which we haven't done yet. So this is family lifestyle. Okay, so there's our hero. Whoops. So now we're going to have another section where we've got main on the left, sidebar on the right. So I feel like our main container, well, we're already in the main container, aren't we? So probably what we want to do is, because the width of the hero is different than the width of the main container, right? And that's totally fine. So let's do a wrap here. And then that wrapper will probably be CSS grid. So we'll do div with a class of wrap. And then I'm thinking that our hero can act as its own wrapper. I don't think we need any additional markup for that. We can add more if we need to once we get to the styling. That's pretty easy to do. So here's our wrap, which will be display grid. And then we need a container for our items and a sidebar. So we'll do another div with a class of, we'll just call it the portfolio. And then these will also be articles. Article with a class of portfolio item. So there's our portfolio on the left. And then we'll do a div called sidebar. And then I usually make my items in a sidebar asides. So these will be H2s. These titles will be H2s. And then these will be aside elements, and the headings of each aside will be H3s. And it's not going to be this stuff. It's going to be different stuff. We'll have to go out and look for some inspo on what those are going to be. But that is usually how I structure things. So the sidebars would be an aside with a class of sidebar underscore aside. Or item. We'll do item. Sidebar item. And then in here we would have an H3. These would be a class of tertiary heading. Oops. We would just say sidebar item until I come up with whatever it is that we want. Let's do that for now. So it's got something in it, right? So there's our temporary sidebar. Okay, back to our articles. And so I think this is cool because I kind of like now the idea of putting a video in the middle. So I'm thinking about how we would do that. Like right when we create those elements and we render them to the DOM, that maybe every, whatever the fourth thing is in the array is something completely different. I'm not sure how we would do that. I mean, we would just be like a little, you would just do like a little if index equals 3, then you create this element instead, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's get this worked out. So we'll stick with category for now. So we've got the category, the H2, the time, date, and the creator. So again, I think we can do a header. So we'll say a header with portfolio meta. And we want the time. So we'll say today's date for now. So it's June. Oh no, category first. So this would be a div. Really, do we want a div or a paragraph? I guess it can just be a div. We'll call it category. Outfit. And then we want the H2, secondary, heading, best choice for today. And then we're going to want this in another div. Do we? Yeah, we are. We're going to want that in another div. So I'll say div meta. And then we'll put the time and date. Or maybe we can just say meta date author June 6th, 2026. And then this would be div with a class of author by Angela. And then I kind of want to put in a bullet. And we'll give this a class of separator. Hopefully I spelled that right. Separator. I think so. Or what we could do is we should really handle this with CSS. Yeah, let's handle that with CSS. We'll do an after instead. text. I guess technically we need this image to come first, don't we? So let's do a figure with a class of figure. And then we'll do an image. I'll just put in one of our images. I'm going to add placeholder text for now. And then this is going to have to be inside of a container in order to, I don't know yet if we're going to do Flexbox or grid. Well, we'll have to do Flexbox because the parent container is going to be grid. So when your parent container is grid, I have learned that you are better off using grid for those big layouts and saving Flexbox for the more like detailed inner child, grandchild. I have learned that the hard way. But we do need to have a container around this. So we'll say div, portfolio, wrap, oops. And then we've got the header. We've got this line, which we can also do really easily with CSS. Then we've got a description. So we'll just add a paragraph tag with some lorem ipsum. We'll put in 25 words. And then we'll do some social sharing buttons. So we will need some more SVGs. It's technically navigation, isn't it? So we'll do a class of, I'm going to say social sharing because it's really going to need their own styles. And then this would be an unordered list. We'll call this the sharing nav. And let's put in hashtags for now. This will all be dynamic. But we do need, I have to think about this. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea. We can do it. We've done it a few times. But I mean, we have to learn how to deal with SVGs and dynamic content eventually. Because I know that inner HTML is really frowned upon. And I keep sneaking in my SVGs using inner HTML. So we have choices if first of all, let's decide what even social sharing we want to do. And to be clear, I don't even think that people would do a lot of social sharing. I just think it's a good exercise. So what would we even do? Facebook, X, LinkedIn. You could do an email link. What else? Pinterest. You don't really share on Instagram. You don't really share on GitHub. You don't really share on YouTube. I think these are the 5 that we've always done in the past. I mean, these SVGs aren't really that big a deal. So I feel like we could do create element. And it might not be a bad exercise. Or maybe I just need to ask ChatGPT the best way to deal with it. Let's do it. Why not? Okay, so let's grab Facebook, X. We already have LinkedIn. We'll grab, Ionicon doesn't have X. I don't know why. I have this theory they just don't like Elon Musk, so they won't include it. I don't know. We'll just go ahead and grab this from X. We've got LinkedIn, so let's get Facebook, email, and Pinterest for my icons. And then let's go to X. What's happening today on X? Oh, holy cow. Gosh, don't go check on her or anything. Okay, Angela, focus. Focus. So I'm just gonna steal the, here's the X SVG right here. So I'm just gonna grab it. And we'll save this. X.svg. Oops. Okay, so I think that's this. You are a time suck, X. Okay. Sharing nav. So how do we want to do this? So we'll start with Facebook. Aria hidden, true. And then we'll do a span that says, there's going to be two spans. So this is going to, so the text that's going to, there's text that will appear and there's text that will be hidden. So what do you do on Facebook? You post, you share, right? Share. And then this, I'm going to say span with the class of access hidden. And then we'll say, we're just going to say Facebook. And then we're going to do, we'll do Facebook, we'll do X. Whoops. Aria hidden, true. This is X. And this is, what do you do? Do you post on X? I think it's just going to be post. This markup is subject to change. I don't know I don't know yet. All markup is subject to change once I start styling. Okay. And then we've got LinkedIn. And then this is what? Link. You link on LinkedIn. What do you do on LinkedIn? Tell me. I want to know. I'll say aria hidden true. And then we've got Pinterest. And you do not need an API to build sharing links for social media sites. You just need the correct URL with endpoints. That's all you need. So we're not going to be adding any scripts, any APIs, nothing to do social sharing. It's very simple. You just have to do it takes a little elbow grease sometimes to get those links, but I've got them because I've been doing them for a while now. It's very easy to do. You don't need a script. You don't need anything. So that's why I really enjoy doing them. So we'll say pin. Aria hidden true. There's our Pinterest. So I think we've got Pinterest, LinkedIn, X, Facebook. I think the last one is just email, right? Say email. I guess this can be. I don't think we're going to need an access hidden for this because I think that this will just be email. Let's get our mail. Make sure this is aria hidden true. And I see taking out that current color attribute. There we go. All right. And that pretty much sums up what one post is going to look like, what one article is going to look like. So this is pretty good for a day's work, honestly. We got our header, our navigation, our hero. We have the structure for the layout. We have the markup in place for each individual article, each individual portfolio item. Yeah. So I need to work on the data, the JSON file. That's not hard. And then we just need to look at some examples. What I would like to do is just go through other mockups that I have and look at examples of sidebars. And we can decide what we want to put in the sidebar. And the fun part about that and making everything dynamic is that our sidebar items can kind of determine the types of things that we want to include as part of the article or the portfolio item, right? And then we can use fun stuff like reduce and sort and all that stuff. So, yeah. And I am kind of thinking that it would be fun to make an Express server and make an API key for Instagram. So I haven't done that in a while. I've done that before, but I haven't done it in a while. So, I think this might be a good time to kind of like break for today. So tomorrow when we come back, we'll figure out what we want our markup to be for this. So I've already decided that this is going to be a video. So we're just gonna decide what video we want to stick in there. And then we'll look and see what we want to have in our sidebar. And then we can start styling. So we'll probably start styling next weekend. We'll probably at least get a style sheet ready to go. We'll pick our fonts. We'll pick a color palette. I guess it would be good tomorrow morning if I actually worked on a JSON file. That would probably be good. See, and now that I'm thinking about it, this actually has to link to something, right? And we didn't include that. So we've got social sharing buttons, but we're also going to need the link to actually view the site. So maybe something that looks like a button that says view site. And then maybe there's another button that says GitHub. So you could go to the GitHub repo. And then if the site hasn't been deployed yet, well, the view site would either be the deployed site itself or the GitHub Pages site. And that data would just come from our JSON file. Yeah, so let's make sure that we include 2 buttons here tomorrow. And I'll definitely work on that JSON file tomorrow morning before we get started. So, but this is a great start. I'm super excited about this one. Stop, Angela. I'm super excited about this one. And no one is here. No one is also a mod in the chat. Hello, how are you doing? Reading some books for a senior dev job and also solving some DSA problems. Well, we're glad to have you. I'm glad you checked in. No one found me, I think, last fall. I had 3 weeks where I was going live every morning and doing like a daily stand-up. Didn't quite work the way I thought it would, but I think that's when no one found me. So we're happy to have you. Happy you're here. I think this is a good place to call it for today. I had fun. It was a chill day, very quiet chat, totally fine. I'm not complaining about that at all. Had some good questions in the chat today too. Do me a favor, if you haven't yet, would you please like the video? It helps grow the channel, helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. I'm here every Saturday and Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. For the most part, sometimes I take a day off or sometimes I'm just late. I was on time today and I did not take the day off, so there's that. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to continue to work on stuff. We'll nail down, we're not going to build out a ton of, we'll look for some inspiration for the sidebar, but I don't see myself writing tons and tons of markup for the sidebar tomorrow because I kind of want to play that by ear and think about, I just really want it to be dynamic, right? I really want it to pull from that JSON data. What I'm trying to do is I want to transform data. I want to use reduce, sort, filter, things like that. Yeah, so we'll nail down some remaining choices for markup. We'll get some JSON written. Should we do that together tomorrow? Maybe we should. Maybe I don't need to do that before. Yeah, let's do it together. Why not? I mean, stuff like that is kind of fussy, but let's face it, being a developer is fussy. The data has to come from someplace, right? And I personally think that it's a good exercise for more front-end developers to get involved in the structure of the API. I mean, there's always going to be those times when somebody just hands you an API. You are not going to have the ability to determine the structure. Maybe it's a legacy API. Maybe the team just doesn't have any time or resources to devote to it, and it is your job to figure out how to make it work. But sometimes you do get to decide how you want it to look. And I think it's a good exercise to build those JSON files, those local JSON files, just not because this is a channel about building APIs, but because it's a channel about understanding how to work with the data. And when you can build your own little local JSON file, it just helps it helps you think about structure and what you're looping through and what do you actually need and what can you actually use to get to use the same set of data but presented in a new way in your sidebar, right? I don't know. For me, I find it helpful and I think it's fun and interesting. So, and then hopefully we can start on our style.css. I don't think we're going to write a ton of styles tomorrow, but I think it would be good to, we'll grab normalize, we'll think about a color palette. I think this is going to be fairly minimal, but I still want to nail down some colors, what's good for our link color, what's accessible, things like that. Maybe a couple of accent colors. So we'll get that figured out. Maybe we'll just do some global styles just to get us started. And then I think next weekend is going to be mostly writing CSS, but I think we can get this wrapped up in a couple of weeks and get this deployed onto our practice layouts site. Yeah, so I think this will be really cool. So, all right. Well, I'll plug Instagram once in a while. I've been on Instagram since 2012 and I have 260 some followers. So clearly I have not spent a lot of time promoting Instagram, but I do like to hang out there. So if you want to message me on Instagram, you absolutely can. Malik Robinson says, good work as usual. Thank you, Malik. I appreciate that. Thanks to everybody who came to hang out with me today. Come back tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll do it again. Bye-bye.